What's going on, hockey fans? It's Mitch here of Hot Take Hockey, and I am here to discuss the Pittsburgh Penguins versus the Philadelphia Flyers, recapping the game. 5-2 victory for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Big Metro division game, a game that could be a preview of the first round of the NHL playoffs, a heated Wednesday night rivalry game, a game that as a Penguins fan, I always get up to watch. I always get up to watch this big rivalry because this has probably, been one of the best rivalries in the NHL for a while. We think back to that first round series a few years back that really was the peak of this rivalry in the Crosby era. And that was one of the best playoff series I've seen in my lifetime. And it's been nice to see kind of the Flyers, even though I do hate them, to see the Flyers kind of get back into a groove, get back into a playoff position, because there's always that chance that we can get the Pennsylvania round one matchup of Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. It could very well happen. The Penguins have moved into first place in the Metro. It pretty much moves every single day. Like it doesn't really matter. So it goes up and it goes down every day. It changes. So it is what it is. But the Penguins have moved into first place in the Metro with this victory, 5-2 over the Flyers. This was a pretty entertaining game. I mean, I wouldn't call this like a great game or like a really stellar game or anything. Like if you watched it, you probably enjoyed it. Unless you were maybe a Flyers fan, you didn't enjoy it so much. But let's just go over the goals. Let's go over what I thought and kind of a summary of the game. Starting off in the first period, the Penguins get on the board. A Phil Kessel goal assisted by Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby on the power play. Pretty much a nice goal on the power play, a nice passing play. We had Crosby pass it down to Malkin, who was on the right side of the net, saw Kessel kind of streaking down the ice, passed it to him to put it in the back of the wide open net. That was a nice passing play. We see that quite often on the Pittsburgh power play. You saw early in this game a lot of power play opportunities for both teams, and the Penguins were finally able to capitalize and be the team that does capitalize on the power play. And if you give the Penguins enough opportunities on the power play, they're definitely going to score. One thing that I did see from the Penguins power play in this game, just in a negative connotation, I thought that the Penguins overall, they weren't shooting the puck enough. They're maybe just sort of trying to make that extra pass, trying to make that sexy play. And I thought once they switched Letang and Schultz started to sort of shoot it a little bit more, they put Letang back on. He started to shoot it a little bit more because he was motivated, because they're like, oh, they're putting Schultz on now, so I got to start shooting the puck. Once Letang from the point started to shoot the puck a little bit more, it opened up their entire power play, and that's when we saw the backdoor from Phil Kessel work. In the second period, Voracek scored, assisted by Nolan Patrick. So they actually did change this. They initially called it a Nolan Patrick goal, but pretty much Voracek swung the puck across. It was a 2-on-1 or something. It was kind of a crazy play. It was a turnover by the Penguins, and Voracek swung the puck across, and Patrick looked like he touched it, but he didn't really, and it sort of like tipped off somebody in front of the net and went in the net. Voracek, I believe he leads the league in assists, and pretty much it was basically an assist that turned into a goal. So Voracek gets the goal there for Philadelphia. Travis Konecny has been one of the big stories of not just the Flyers, but actually a bright story in the NHL. Like a guy that, has sort of come out of nowhere. Pierre Maguire continued to compare him to Brad Marchand throughout this game, and he got a goal which was sort of like a lacrosse goal. He kind of took the puck and put it on his blade, and it was stuck against the pad, and he flipped it over the right pad of Tristan Jarry, and it ended up going in the net. It was kind of a fluky but sort of skilled play at the same time from Konecny. It was just a poor play overall from Jarry's point of view. Probably should have froze the puck. Probably should have been a little bit more careful, a little bit more intense and aggressive on the puck, but instead he was a little bit too casual, let it go, and Konecny was able to put the puck in the net. Giroux gets another assist on that, making it his 56th assist of the season. Pittsburgh then responds with 3 straight goals in the second period. Jamie Oleksiak scores a goal from the point. Nice shot. And something that I've really noticed about Jamie Oleksiak, not only is he big, not only is he a physical real specimen, he's the second tallest, biggest guy in the league behind Zdeno Chara. He can fight pretty well. And I think that's part of the reason they let go of Ryan Reeves. They figured this is a guy that can not only contribute to the lineup, but he can also fight. And Jamie Oleksiak, he's kind of a tough player, Canadian kid. And this is a guy that, to me, has really improved his play since being traded. He was a guy that when he on his previous teams and when he got drafted was expected to be a bright star in the NHL. Didn't really work out, but when he comes to Pittsburgh, he's really elevated his play. He's been a good solid addition, especially on like the last pairing of this team, and he's actually shown some offensive promise. He's pretty good with the puck. He can pass, he can shoot, he has a heavy shot, and he scored again in this game. He scored, I think, 2 goals against the Flyers so far. Connor Sheary then pretty much has his best game he's had in a long time, scoring his 13th and 14th goal of the season, putting back on the Crosby line. This line dominated the entire second half of this game and pretty much was the spark that provided the Penguins with this victory. Crosby was simply the best player in the world in this game. He was simply Sidney Crosby. He had 3 assists. He got his 1100th point in this game, and this line with Crosby, Sid, and the kids, Crosby, Getzel, and Sheary was awesome. The first goal, Crosby and Sheary. Crosby kind of 2-on-1, shot it similar to the one, if you saw his goal in overtime. I don't remember who it was against, but his goal in overtime previously, I think the last game they played, he put it 5-hole. It was a similar opportunity. He puts it basically off the right pad, close to Connor Sheary. So it's rather a goal or it's a rebound for Connor Sheary to tip in, and Sheary goes hard to the net and puts the puck in the net for his first goal. In his second goal, man, I really don't remember what happened, but he ended up scoring again. I believe it was just a tic-tac-toe from the players involved, Crosby to Gensel to Sheary, with another nice goal. So these guys really had a great game. Forechecking wise, they just overwhelmed the Flyers with their speed, and they ended up taking it over. And then Evgeny Malkin gets his 38th of the season, currently second in goals as the empty netter. So I'm going to get to the comments right now so I can hear from you guys what you have to say. But that was pretty much the rundown of the goals, the big plays in the game. Rob is in the chat. He says Ron Francis is out in Carolina. That's interesting. Ron Francis is a guy that, not speaking on, the coach or, Ron Francis now, but Ron Francis, great player of the Penguins, but also, of the Carolina Hurricanes. A guy that, I don't know, it just seems like a good guy. So, I hope something's good. Whatever happens with him is positive. The Vegas Golden Knights coverage says Flyers winning 5-3. Don't at me. Oh, this isn't Twitter. Well, the Flyers lost, so I don't know what you mean. Mason says my Flyers always against these puss Penguins. Goon Flyers are just shit, bud, says Braden. Why can't Nolan Patrick rise yet, says Mason. That's an interesting question, actually. So as far as Nolan Patrick is concerned, I thought he was probably the best player in the draft. He ends up going 2nd overall to the Flyers. Flyers kind of fluke out, get that 2nd spot in the draft. And yeah, he had a pretty good game in this game. Honestly, he's a pretty solid young 2-way player, but I don't think we should expect, I think people are starting to expect, because of recent drafts with Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews, that every single year we're going to have a player like that. And I think this year we just really, the best rookies in the league aren't really true rookies. Like Matt Barzal, Brock Bowser, those guys of the Canucks and the Islanders. These are 2 guys that, yeah, they're rookies, but they weren't drafted this year. Heischer and Patrick were drafted this year, and they're the true rookies, right? And guys like Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid were amazing right off the bat. And these guys are kind of more adjusting. They're still very solid players. They're just not guys that I think are going to completely flip around and turn around a franchise. They're good players and they might become great players at one point, but I just don't think they're that kind of generational player like those other players are, especially McDavid. So I just think maybe the expectations were a little bit too high. The coach says Pens dominate the Flyers as always. Yeah, as of recently, the Penguins have dominated. I don't remember, but I think the Penguins have won every game this year. I think this was the third game they've played this year, and I think they've won all of them. So Penguins look good going into the playoffs against the Metro Division. I believe they are 5-1 against the Caps and the Flyers combined, and those are the two teams that they could possibly play. So I think if you're a Penguins fan like myself, you're probably pretty happy about what the Penguins are doing at this point and how they can perform in the playoffs. Of course, I think the Flyers would maybe be the tougher series than the Capitals. I know the Capitals are considered the better team, but you've seen the Penguins continuously beat the Capitals year in and year out in the playoffs, and the Capitals aren't better than they used to be. So I just feel like, yeah, the Capitals are maybe a more talented team than the Flyers, but I think the Flyers, although they haven't given recent threat to the Penguins, they are still a rival team that there's nothing quite like Penguins-Flyers hockey. Sometimes the Penguins get off their game against the Flyers. Sometimes the game gets into, all about this physical testosterone crap and all about the, chippiness. And that's what takes away sometimes from the Penguins game. They have recently, of these last two Stanley Cup champion teams, been able to adapt and evolve from that. But at the same time, I feel like that series would be more entertaining. And I also feel like it would probably be maybe even closer. Maybe I'm just open to it a little bit more than seeing the Capitals again, because I don't know how many people would actually say that the Capitals would beat the Penguins in the playoff series, considering they've lost to them 2 times in a row. The score was 5-2. I had mentioned it off the top. Vegas says, I was pulling for the Flyers. Let the underdog story of Philly continue. Rachel says, I'm a Penguins fan. Well, nice to have you, Rachel. John says, sub, Rachel. Yeah, hopefully you're subbed. What's going on, John? Jerry, whatever you want to say it. He's from British Columbia, where I'm from, Vancouver, Canada. And the kid, I know a guy that played with him in minor hockey, and I'm actually pretty happy to see how he's been playing recently. The last couple of games, he's sort of bounced back from a little bit of a rough spot, but I actually like what I've seen from him recently. He's been a pretty good backup goalie, and that's pretty much all you can ask for him. He's still really young. He's like 22, and he's playing good hockey. I think that at one point, he's never really going to be a starter for this team. I think maybe they could end up trading him one time, but I think just right now, with Murray injured, he's playing as good as you can. The team is kind of giving him confidence, and I think we've seen a good goaltending performance from him. So that's nice to see. What do we got here? Who's ready for hockey in Seattle? I don't know when that's going to happen, man. Then why is Rob telling me that Ron Francis is out when he's not? I'm just going off people because I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not looking at Twitter. Where is Trent? Josh, you're right. Where is Trent? Ask Trent. Where is he? Rusty says the kid is awesome. Yeah, Sid's the best. Rusty says Penguins win. Damn right they win. I met the Penguins coach. That's pretty cool. I'd like to meet Mike Sullivan. Where is Trent? Nux Nation, get to him. Search him up, Trent Alcock, on the Twitter. Fitty Trent. Go message him. Get him here. I don't know where the guy is. I have no idea. So you got to hit him up. I really have no idea where he is. I'm not making that up. All right, so let's get into the stars of the game. I know John likes to keep these short, so the Pittsburgh Penguins, the winners, we'll start off with them. I thought that overall Sidney Crosby was the best player on the ice. Good in the faceoff dot, good defensively, good offensively, good with puck possession. He was especially good, and this is one of the points where I often consider Malkin to be the better player, is off the rush. Malkin's kind of explosiveness and his ability to skate is really one of his best assets. And I thought Crosby, especially the last couple of games, you've been seeing him get it up in the rush a little bit more. And of course, he's amazing in that facet of the game as well. But like, he is more considered to be the guy that's great with the puck around the net and the great passer and the great with the puck possession. But on the rush in this game, that's where he made magic happen. And he got 3 assists in this game to get his 1100th point, like I already said. And yeah, all around great. He was first star. Second star, I think you got to give to Connor Sheary, even though, probably, or I don't know if he wants to be pronounced Sherry anymore. Sheary, whatever. So Connor Sheary, whatever the way he wants to be pronounced his name now. He got 2 goals in this game. He was a +3, 3 shots on goal. I thought he really provided a spark to the Crosby line when he got on it. I think really putting him on the 4th line kind of gave him an eye-opener. Even sitting him for a game was nice. I've always believed in Connor Sheary as a talent. He's kind of had a up and down year. He's been really streaky. But overall, like when he's good to go, he's an asset because he's fast. He's also chippy. He can get into the corners and he can get those pucks. And he is just like the ultimate role player for what the Penguins want because he fits their team perfectly. And when he's on his game, the Penguins are just an entirely different animal because he's a role player that can be more than a role player. And I feel like he did have he had a good game here and really bounced back. Malkin did have 2 points in this game, a goal and assist. One was the empty net, but I thought that he was good, but he wasn't great. He's Malkin. He's always going to be good, but he wasn't like great or anything. Gensel was great. He was on that line with Sheary and Crosby. Kessel was pretty good. He had a goal in the game. Hagelin was pretty good. I thought Sheehan was really good in this game. He had an assist, but he was also really good on the penalty kill. I really like his aggressiveness there. I like what he's brought to the 4th line. I think that, I've even been thinking about it. Maybe I know this sounds crazy, but like the way that, and maybe it will take more time to develop. And obviously Brassard's taking more time to kind of come in and situate himself. But I don't know why they really decided to separate Sheehan and Kessel. Because like those 2 guys were playing so great together and Kessel was producing at such a high clip that I almost feel like putting Brassard on the 4th line. And it's not like the Penguins never play their 4th line. That's the thing. Like they rotate their lines. They play their 1st and 2nd line the most, but then they rotate their 3rd and 4th kind of evenly. And yeah, they almost rotate all their lines pretty evenly. So for me, I don't know. Like, would you be up for Brassard playing on the 4th line? Because maybe that would give even another dimension of offensive threat, having Crosby on the 1st, Malkin on the 2nd, Kessel on the 3rd, and then Brassard on the 4th. I feel like that would be pretty interesting. Obviously, he's more of the 3rd line, 2nd line center, obviously. But I just haven't seen quite the same chemistry. And maybe that will come with more games and more time together. Maybe it's just a crazy thing that's going through my head. But that's just kind of a point I want to bring up to see if they maybe go to that at some point. But Jamie Oleksiak, I thought was the 3rd star of the game. I brought him up already. He did have a penalty, but it is what it is. He had 2 hits, 2 blocks. He was a +3 and had 2 points. He had a nice goal from the point. I thought he was physical in this game. You need that type of guy against the Flyers in Philadelphia. Set the tone. He had an assist as well, and I think he's just been playing all around good hockey since coming to the Penguins, and especially since January. Since this team has kind of upped their game, he's been one of their better defensemen game in and game out. So I like what I saw from him. Philadelphia, Voracek is kind of always a good player against the Penguins. He had a lot of opportunities. He had 4 shots, and also a goal in this game. Konecny was pretty good. I thought Giroux was also pretty good as well. Gostisbehere was pretty good despite being a -1. He had a couple opportunities. He hit the post once. He had 3 shots on goal. Couturier was impressive defensively. He always is. If I had to give the 3 stars, I also thought Mrazek made some nice saves, especially on Malkin going side to side, but he wouldn't be considered a star. I'd say Voracek first star. Second star, I would say, that's tough. I would say, man, that is actually really tough. I guess you kind of got to go with Konecny because he was pretty good. And then third star, I don't think any of the defensemen really outside of Gostisbehere really stood out. I thought Gostisbehere had a good offensive game overall, and that's pretty much what he does. Third star, I would probably give to Giroux. Patrick was up there, I guess, and Gostisbehere. Maybe I'll give it to Gostisbehere just because. So I'll give it to Voracek, Konecny, and Gostisbehere. Those were my 3 stars for Philadelphia. But overall, they only really had a good first period. Their kind of second, third period, say Evgeny Malkin. Yeah, I say Brock Bowser because that's just the way I like to say his name. Nashville is a choice to win. Rob thinks Nashville is going to win the cup. Those are my 3 stars. I have Giroux, Konecny, or not Giroux, Voracek, Konecny, and I have Gostisbehere being the 3 stars for Philadelphia. And then I have Crosby, Sheary, and Alexiak being the Penguins' 3 stars. In terms of the goalies, I thought both played pretty solid. Jerry maybe let one easy one up, I guess, sort of. Like he just made a poor play on it. And then I thought Mrazek didn't really give any easy goals up. I just thought his defense in front of him just wasn't that good. And I thought the Penguins just, their pace of play kind of outdid the Flyers. So, why can't we get a starting goalie? Well, to be honest, like your goaltending has been pretty good this year for the most part. You've had some injuries though. You thought Goss played bad? I didn't think he did. I thought offensively he played pretty well. He could have had a goal in the game. Drew and Patrick were invisible when they were usually clutch. I thought Drew had a lot of good opportunities in the first period. A lot of the Flyers sort of disappeared in the third period. Like I don't think you could really say that anyone played great in the third period because really the Penguins dominated. But for the first and second period, I thought Giroux was around the puck. And Patrick, had that goal. I don't really think anyone else was above them. So I was just trying to give 3 stars for Philadelphia. So that's kind of just my reasoning behind that. Any other questions you guys have? And then I'll be out right in a sec. Hope you guys enjoyed this recap though. Penguins, Flyers. I'm looking forward to seeing if this is going to be a playoff series because as I mentioned before, I like this rivalry, and I'm open to it over the Capitals and Penguins. Also, I haven't really made it known on this channel, but I hate the playoff format. I think it should be different. I think it should be the way it used to be. And I hate that these teams have to play their divisional opponents in the first round of the playoffs. I'd rather just the old-fashioned 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7 format. Mason says, do you think Crosby will retire next year? Yeah, no. Sorry. Have a good night, Rob. Hope you guys enjoyed. It's Mitch of the Hot Take Hockey and the Bottom Line View. If you guys don't know about the Bottom Line View NFL channel, go subscribe to that channel. And make sure if you're not already subscribed to Hot Take Hockey for more NHL recaps and reactions and a lot of playoff stuff coming up. So stay tuned. Peace out.